The year is 2025. You are a musician or a songwriter or an artist or an aspiring audio engineer, producer, and you want to start building out your own personal studio setup, or maybe you want to start collecting recording equipment so that you can build out your dream studio facility, but you don't know exactly where to start or which approach to take. This video is for you. So today we're going to build out 3 different equipment lists for the studio setup that you might be considering, whether you're one, a songwriter or artist and you're just looking to make some demos and you don't need a ton of gear. 2, if you're looking to become a serious producer and you want to just pick the things that you need as a producer. Or 3, if you're trying to set up a full studio and you want to become an engineer and actually own the facility and have everything that you need, that's going to be the 3rd setup. The framing is if you're just getting started and you had my experience, this is what I would go with. Before I go through and show you what I recommend, let me show you what I'm using now. All right, first things first, the studio is a bit different now because I have an entire dedicated house as a studio. We've got this writing lounge room out here. We've got drums, drum closet. This is the control room. So all of the listening goes on. We also record guitar, bass, sometimes vocals in here. All of the outboard preamps, some extra instruments, guitar amps. In here you can see lots of microphones. And here we've got ribbons, tubes, condensers, dynamics, some extra gear. You go down this hall, there are 2 more rooms. We've got drum tracking room in here, some treatment, and then we have some guitar tracking overdub room with some acoustic guitars. So as you can tell, this is far from a beginner setup. But with that being said, I've spent the last 20 years working in a wide variety of different studios, different setups with a whole lot of different tools, both limited and unlimited in some circumstances. I have figured out what I like to use, but if I had to do it again, starting from scratch, I have a very different perspective than what I had then. Okay, so when you are setting up a studio, there's a few categories of things that you just have to cover. Number 1 is a way to capture music, a performance. You can do that generally in 2 different ways. The audio recording, which would mean you have to use microphones, or you can use virtual instruments with something like a keyboard and virtual instrument software, VSTs. Then you need a computer, a device with software to capture that performance too. And then of course you need a way to hear the performance and to be able to modify, edit, mix that musical performance and to export it so other people can listen to it, right? Example number 1, here we go. Okay, so one of the first things to consider here, you're gonna need a computer. I would personally prefer a Mac computer for music production. I'm not saying Macs are better, but I personally would prefer a Mac computer for music production. I would recommend getting a minimum of internal storage of 1 terabyte, and then I would go for the most amount of RAM you can afford. Don't skimp out on RAM, don't skimp out on video graphics processor. These things are important for the future of what you're doing. You don't want to spend a couple $1,000s on a computer and it hit its wall in a year and a half. Another good practice with computers is don't store your projects on the computer. Get yourself an external hard drive, keep your projects on the external hard drive, and have some backups somewhere. Okay, so as we can see here, there is a Memorial Day 50% off recording sale. Perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build out wish lists here. You can see I've got a lot of wish lists. Songwriter, artist. Let's start with something simple. We're gonna do the performance capture. We're gonna do the MIDI controller. So let's look at a MIDI controller. This is going to be either a keyboard or, as you can see, like a device like this with pads on it that you can do some sort of performance, and it converts that information into digital signal that can then be used with virtual instruments. So let's see, let's try and keep our budget pretty thin here. This is a 61 key keyboard controller for $269. That's probably about as good as it's gonna get. All right, we'll do the white one, fine. Songwriter, artist, perfect. Okay, the next thing we're gonna need is actual software to use this to capture the performance, whether it's audio or MIDI performance. There's a lot of different options here. I'm gonna put some on the screen. You can do your own digging on that. If you're on a Mac computer, I would recommend for artists and songwriters, GarageBand or Logic. GarageBand comes for free with the computer. Logic is 200 bucks, one time, forever. It comes with a ton of preloaded instruments, comes with a bunch of great features for writing and producing, and it's very user-friendly. That's what I would recommend going with. An alternative to that might be something like Studio One or Ableton. There's entry-level or free-level versions of these DAWs as well. The DAW is the Digital Audio Workstation. We've got our computer, we've got our DAW, we've got a MIDI controller. Next, let's get a audio interface. So we're gonna go over here to audio interfaces on Sweetwater. I'm just gonna keep it simple and go USB audio interfaces. We're gonna get something very, very affordable here. So you've got a couple options here when you are recording your voice and or guitar. Here's a little trick. You can grab one of these Focusrite interfaces. Look, you can get one for 110 bucks. That's absolutely insane. That's one option, right? You can get the $110 one channel interface and you can just record one thing at a time. You can get the 2i2 interface and be able to have a microphone plugged in and then also have one that's just a line or guitar plug-in. That might be more useful for a songwriter if you were to go in that range. I'm gonna put this on the list. So the other thing I want to mention, if you're a singer, songwriter, artist, and you go into a studio, a real studio, and you record specifically vocals, one of the things that is often used on the vocal mic is you're hitting an external preamp and a compressor. That compressor is going to help make up for the dynamics, the levels when you're singing so that you get the full dynamic of your performance while you're singing. What I'm gonna do is also recommend this is like the cheapest possible way of doing this, but I'm gonna recommend this Volt 276 because this actually has a built-in feature which has a little compression setting built on the input. So when you go to record your mic, you can press this button that says 76 compressor, and it's gonna give you some of that feeling of a compressor while you're singing. So I'm actually gonna add this one. I would probably go with this one over the Focusrite. I have one of these for my kid, and it's a great MIDI controller interface. We're at 568 total. Next, we need a microphone, and we're gonna need some cables. Now, like I said before, if you're investing in something to take yourself seriously, I would actually invest and get a nice mic, which is a nice vocal mic's gonna be anywhere from 800 bucks to 15,000 bucks. But if you're just writing, you can get away with something a bit more affordable just for the purpose of capturing the idea. Now, if I were gonna do that and I just wanted something simple and easy, I would go with this 440 Pure. I actually have two of these, and these are shockingly great sounding vocal mics. So if that's the purpose, we've got our vocal mic. Now we've got to get oh, look at this. You can get the stand and cable. Boom. Let's just do that. Add the bundle, 14 bucks. Okay, so we're making progress. We've got the computer, we've got the software, we've got the MIDI controller, we've got the audio interface, we've got the microphone, stand, cable, guitar cable. So we can do virtual instruments, we can do vocals and mic'd instruments, and then we can also do direct instruments, mono with the guitar cable. We have two-channel interface, so we could also theoretically grab stereo line level instruments. But next, of course, we need to hear the music that we're working on. So I would get a pair of headphones, and I would go with the Audio Technica headphones. These are tried and true in almost every studio that you're going to go to. These are not necessarily high-end mixing headphones, but these are good headphones. Next, we're going to need some speakers, but we're just going to go with something to be able to get the job done, which is write the song. So we're going to do, these iLouds are pretty awesome. So, and this would be great for a songwriter. So let's add that to the list. Okay, I guess we might need cables to plug the studio monitors in. Here we go, boom. Two of these bad boys. Okay, I think we're done with the songwriter list. So let's check it out. The total is coming in at $1,700. A fairly big number if you are like, oh my gosh, I can't afford that or whatever, but like, just get what you can. Start with what you have here. But this is the most reasonable way to do everything that you need to do as a songwriter. MIDI controller to be able to perform all sorts of different virtual instruments through. We have audio interface, which has 2-channel inputs. You can use microphones, you can do line inputs. I believe this even has MIDI inputs on the back of it. Yep, you can connect a MIDI controller to the back of that. You have your speaker outputs, which we have cables to connect to the speakers. We have studio monitors from IK Multimedia. These are iLoud speakers. We have headphones. You've got the cables. You have a direct guitar cable to record guitar and bass. And we have a vocal microphone, XLR cable, and stand. So all of that for $1,700 is actually a smoking deal. I'll put this list down in the description if you want to check it out. This will be an affiliate link since Sweetwater is sponsoring this video. Anything that you purchase from Sweetwater at no extra cost, you'll be supporting this channel. So go check out that link. That'll be the Songwriter's studio setup. Moving on. Okay, next we're moving on from the Songwriter artist studio setup. So we're gonna do a list just for the producer engineer. Okay, now what does the producer do? Well, a producer nowadays can mean a lot of different things. Traditionally, the producer was someone who would essentially be the job or general contractor of the album or the record or the single or the session, right? So they're sort of the boss. They pick which studio you're working at. They get hired by the artist to produce the album. They are the liaison to getting the end results that they want. Nowadays, there's also producers who are essentially track people, you know, someone who makes some of the track, the music in the computer, produce it, but they're more responsible for the music, and sometimes like they're actually making the music themselves. So we want to be able to essentially help build out a rig for a producer that allows them to both create tracks and then record at the very least 1 or 2 channels of signal at a very high quality and high fidelity. And we are actually looking to capture record level quality here, but on a single or 2 channel scale. Here, number 1, we'll borrow the headphones. We're gonna roll with the same MIDI controller. I don't think that this is the best feeling controller as far as like the key bed and the semi-weighted feeling of the keys are. I actually like the feeling of the Native Instruments Complete controller a little bit more, but what that's lacking, this has. So we're gonna stay with this one. Okay, so picking out an interface, if it were me and I were a producer, I would either go the UA Apollo route. It's gonna come with some plugins that you can use for processing, but knowing what I know now, and having the interface and using what I have, I would probably actually roll with an Antelope Audio interface if I was going the producer or the engineering route. Now, the producer route, I would really just need 2 or 4 channels, and I believe this actually has four channels. Yep, this has 4 inputs. So this is the discrete for Synergy Core Antelope Audio interface. So you've got 2 connections on the front, you got 2 connections on the back, you've got your monitor outs, you've got line outs, you've got word clock, Thunderbolt and USB, ADAT expansion SPDIF, and then power. Now this is an interface that has very low latency, and it also has great converters. So you actually could use hardware with this. You get great conversion. So as the long term, you're gonna be able to do great mixes on this. You are gonna be able to use hardware, and it's $1,145. Whereas we jump back to some of these other ones, you can see it gets into the thousands pretty quickly. That's personally what I would do. You're gonna get better headphone amp. You've got 4 headphone outs on the front, which is sweet. So I would probably go with this because this list price, which you can find a discount, I coincidentally have an affiliate discount with them for anyone who sees these videos. That's 10% off. That basically brings it down to $1,000 for this interface, which is great. Now you can also, if the one thing to pay attention on these interfaces is whether it says Synergy Core. That means that you also get the interfaces designed for their plugins, which you can also record through. And their plugins sound very, very good. So this is probably the best bang for buck. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick this one. I can't put it on my Sweetwater checkout because this is not available on Sweetwater. But if you want to go with something like this, I'll put a link to it in the description underneath the producer engineer setup. Moving on, we have our audio interface, we have our headphones, we have our MIDI controller. That's a big chunk of the producer setup. Plugins are going to be a significant part of the producer arrangement as well. I would recommend some version of Native Instruments. Yeah, I would probably go with Ultimate. So I'm going to add this to the list. This next one is a huge one, Vocaline Pro. So for producers, one of the main things you're doing is working with the performers, the vocalist, the singer, the musicians, and getting the best performance out of them. This tool is called Vocaline by Synchro Arts. This is a tool that helps you just, when you're doubling parts, which is very common with vocals and harmonies, and you want to get the vocals to be as cohesive and tight as possible, this is an amazing tool to be able to use. I'm definitely going to be adding this to the cart as well. The next thing a producer is going to need is some pitch correction software. I'm a big fan of Melodyne. This is like sort of a simplified version of Melodyne. It's Melodyne Assistant. I would consider this if you can't get the full version. So pitch correction, we're going to add that to the list. We're going to move on to another plugin bundle. Again, this kind of thing is really useful for producers. So these are useful for the producer. This is going to give you lots of processing tools for getting a good sounding mix, for the listening experience, the experience of the song, getting it in that world that you were looking for. It's going to give you a lot of effects like delays and modulation and different things to add ear candy to the production. Very important. This is like a subscription. Waves is now something that you can subscribe to if you want to do it that way. There's a couple different ways to get these plugins. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the list because this would be something that I would for sure want in addition to what comes with Logic. Immediately, if you're walking into a room and it's got this is great, but what's missing? A microphone and speakers. So next, this is the mic that I would want. And this is a very expensive mic. This is the Lauten Audio Eden. This is actually the mic we have been using lately in my studio on everything. The reason I picked this mic is because you have actually a lot of flexibility with the different sounds you can get out of the microphone. Because of the different settings on the microphone, you can actually switch between different circuits in the mic depending on what the high pass switches are set to and which mode you're on. There's a forward mode, a neutral mode, and a gentle mode on the back here, which you can see. So you can switch through these. Very, very nice, very high quality microphone. This is like a invest in forever mic. Like you get this and this is the mic you use forever. It is a lot up front, $3,500, well, currently $400 off. It's normally more than that. This is something that you will get a return on if you ever decide to sell later. So it is a bigger upfront investment, but it's better return in the long run. And it's gonna make the results so much better. So I would get something like this. If I couldn't afford a outboard preamp and compressor on the way in, then this would be great just with the interface preamp. So I would use this. So I'm going to add this to the list now, which is going to take the list up pretty pricey. But again, this list is less of making a budget list and more of like what are the tools for a serious producer that can cover a lot of ground. So, I wanted to say, if you wanted to kind of go with this list, but you wanted an alternative mic that's just cheaper, the 251. The WA251 from Warm Audio is also a really great sounding tube microphone. That's great. So we'll put that in there as an alternative. SM7 is going to be a great complementary mic to a tube mic. So I'm going to add that as well. This is the DB, which means it has the active switch built in so that you don't need the cloud lifter. So we'll add that. And then lastly, speakers for the producer. If I was picking and I wanted the most portable speaker that has the biggest bang for your buck, Footprint 01. If we had to, Footprint 02. Very similar speakers. Footprint 02s are a little bit smaller, just a little bit. Footprint 01s are some of my favorite speakers, so I would definitely go with these if I could for the producer's list. So we've got speakers, we've got some microphone options, we've got Wave subscription, Melodyne, Vocaline, VSTs with Native Instruments. We've got the Keylab MIDI controller, headphones for the singer and me, the producer. Then of course we would need some cables, some XLR cables. Let's just go ahead and grab a grip. So I would go with a 2-pack of XLRs to have 2
microphone inputs for the interface, but you're actually going to need these 1/4-inch TRS to XLR cables to go from the interface to the speakers. 2 of these bad boys. So that's a 2-pack. This gets us signal from the interface to the speakers. We've got signal from the microphone to the interface. Got the microphone subscriptions, plugins, MIDI controller, headphones. We've got the interface. So that covers pretty much everything. What am I missing here? Let me know what I'm missing and what you would pick down in the comments for the producer list. These are the things that I would pick if I was just a producer and I just wanted to get great input, have great mixes, be able to have a great production experience with the software, the listening spot, and then have a wide variety of virtual instruments that we could use. Now we've done the producer engineer part, let's move on to the audio engineer musician part. This is going to be for anyone who is in the unfortunate position of being the guy who, or girl, who builds out the studio that they're going to own and pay for everything in. You want to be the audio engineer. You want to be the place that people come to because you have all of the things to be able to do a proper professional session to the best ability that you can. So some of this, again, will be on Sweetwater, and some of the things are not available on Sweetwater. So we're going to do the Barefoots, number 1. Also, $500 off. These are normally $4,500 studio monitors. We'll go ahead and grab the cables for these. And we're just going to go ahead and presume no monitor controller. Let's jump to the interface, which is going to be another Antelope. These are just the best products, in my opinion, for people who are doing serious production and engineering. The Antelope Orion Studio. So there's 2 options, 2 paths that I would consider. This option, which is I want an interface that just has some preamps built into it. So that way I don't have to immediately start buying outboard preamps and everything else that comes with that. So that's a very big upfront cost. This interface gives you all the benefits of a high-end Antelope converter. So you're getting the high-end converters, you're getting the low latency, which allows you to use hardware inserts. Later down the line, if you're an audio engineer and mixer, you're gonna wanna do 12 channels of built-in preamps, added feature of guitar reamping right in the front of the unit here. You also get high quality headphones, you get great output converters. So when you're mixing, it sounds absolutely amazing. Thunderbolt and USB connections. You have ADAT expansions on them. You have the DB25 connections for your outs. What I'm thinking is I would use this, I would get 12 preamps right away. I would have the ability to expand with ADAT inputs. I would probably use the ADAT outputs to go to some headphone mixers, which I would definitely want in the studio. Now, I'm recommending stuff that I literally am using here. I've got an Antelope converter over here. I'm using these headphone mixers that you can kind of see, the Behringers. These are the Mark 1s, the P16s. That gives you 16 channels of whatever you want on them. And you can just set them all around the studio. So you can have one next to you. You can have one next to each performer so they can get their own mix. Now, this interface goes with a 16-channel headphone mixer perfectly because of the software, where you can route everything internally. They have essentially an internal digital patch bay where you can grab your input signals. You can use the mixers inside the software to create sub-mixes, and you can take those sub-mixes and route those anywhere you want, which is so insanely useful for a studio, an actual tracking and mixing studio setup. The software with these interfaces is the best. Then you also get the added benefit of everything else. Great monitoring, you get the 12 channels of inputs, great sounding preamps, by the way. This whole entire thing is $3,100 retail. So if you use my 10% discount, that's gonna bring it down to under $3,000, $2,800 or something like that. There's no other interface that's that many features with that quality of conversion, latency, everything else for that price. There just isn't. I know there isn't. This is a great one. I'll put a link to this underneath the list in the description. Let's go back to our list here. So we got interface, preamps. We need headphones. Are probably gonna need a controller for the studio. Microphone, definitely going for a high-end mic like a Loughton. This would be what I call and do call my everything mic. This is the best vocal. This is great acoustics. You can use it as room, you can use it on all kinds of things, percussion, claps, anything you want to just sound beautiful and amazing. SM7's another one. These are bangers. Audio engineers definitely gonna need vocal line, you're definitely gonna need tuning. Spoiler alert, if you're the audio engineer / studio owner, you're buying a lot of stuff. That's a hard pill to swallow, so just know what you're getting into. All right, yeah, so far we're at $8,200, not including the $3,000 interface. We got speakers, we got headphones, we got interface, we got mic, we've got controller, vocal line. Definitely gonna need some plugins. Let's just throw the waves on there again. I'm probably gonna be rolling with Pro Tools if I'm the engineer. Audio engineers tend to go towards Pro Tools, and I personally, that's what I would pick. Regardless of what you would pick, maybe you pick something different, I would do it. On the list, we got Pro Tools, we got Melodyne, Waves. People are gonna have Waves on their sessions, FabFilter. Everyone is using FabFilter bundles. I might go with this one. I might go with the mastering bundle because you get the compressor, limiter, EQ, and these are what I'm using mostly as the engineer. I would probably want some effects. Sound Toys is really useful. Also, if you are going for plugins and you don't know, Black Fridays is the time to get plugins because they're at a fraction of the price. I'm gonna put it on the list because maybe you're like me and you're using these lists as reference points. You're building out the dream. What are all the things that's gonna complete what I need to do my job as best as I can? This one is crucial if you're doing mixing. This is one of the longest lasting pieces of studio gear that I have. The SSL UF8, you can see back ordered. This puppy gets a lot of use. Faders, putting your fingers on faders and using your ears to make decisions about the work that you're doing will save you a lot of time. Using your eyes and your mouse is a different part of the brain and will make you run in circles over and over and over. So using your hand on a fader and closing your eyes and listening and making the moves that feel right will get you there so much faster. Now, what do you need? Well, you need a lot more mics, right? So I would do some sort of Shure drum pack, right? Drum mic pack. Get some 57s. I would definitely do, this will get you going. This is a good pack to get going. Add this to the list. I would get some condenser mics, WA-84s. I would also get the WA-14s. The WA-14 stereo pair is actually super clutch. They sound amazing. These are the 414EB versions. $749 for the pair. You get the stereo bar. This with the other mics, you're gonna be able to get great drum recordings. We've added some microphones to the list. We've got some dynamics, we've got some condensers. If you're gonna get a ribbon, there's one ribbon that is just gold. It's not a particularly budget-friendly mic, but it is incredible. It is the Coles 4038 Studio Ribbon microphone. This thing is insane. I just got 2 of them for the studio. It is shocking how great and how useful this one microphone all by itself is on drums specifically, but you can use it on horns, you can use it on guitar, you can use it on vocals, you can get all kinds of really interesting sounds with this mic. 4038 right here. I would get this. I'm gonna put a link to this. This thing has made such a huge impact, and you can get a great drum sound with this in literally 2 or 3 other mics. So you've got this, you got a 57, you got a Beta 52. You put another mic as a room mic and you're just cooking. Great drum mic. So I would get this. I'm gonna link this down below. And by the way, this is not an affiliate link. This is just a place that I know you can get them that is gonna be great. So I'll put that link down below. Okay, so we've got those, we got the ribbon, we got the tube mic. Dude, you got this stuff. You are cooking with grease. Definitely need a pop filter. That's what we forgot, the pop filter on the producer list. That's a big one. And the singer-songwriter list. This is my favorite pop filter. It's got these dual layers. So you got like the pantyhose thing, but it's in like 2 separate layers. So there's a little air gap in between. All right, so now we've got some microphones so we can record some instruments. We've got pop filter for vocals, acoustic guitar, we got faders, we got plugins, we've got a DAW, we've got vocal line, we've got a great vocal mic, we've got MIDI controller, headphones, and speakers. Honestly, 13 grand plus the 3 for the interface and let's just call it 1,300 bucks for the ribbon. 16 grand. 16 grand for all this is insane. This is actually an insane studio right here. I would shoot for this kind of thing. And obviously you can swap some of the stuff if you have a different preference of brand, what you're gonna use. But this is a well-rounded, oh, you know what it's missing? Of course. XLRs and mic stands. God, don't you hate it? Don't you hate it? Let's see what kind of deals you can get on XLR. Pro tip, if you know how to solder cables, if you don't, learn. You can buy spools of cable XLR cable on Sweetwater, XLR cable, and literally I make my own XLRs. You can get like 200 feet and just make a grip of them for a fraction of the price of buying a bunch of them. You do have to buy the connectors, the solder, you have to have a soldering station, you know what you're doing, be good at it, etc. But otherwise, you can get yourself a grip of XLR cables, which, you know, ranging from $25, $30 to $70 per cable is gonna cost you a lot more than maybe you want to get. I would probably go with like 15-foot cables and just do get a bunch of 15-footers and then maybe a couple 20-footers. You're gonna need some 1/4-inch cables. These are the things that also are like really matter, because when you're trying to budget for this stuff, it's like you get all the gear and then you go, oh crap, I don't have the things to plug it in. Bummer, real bummer. Instrument cables, we're gonna need those. If you have a studio, you gotta have these cables. It is what it is. If you're at this point overextended with stands, love these little guys here. The kick drum amp mic stand. These are actually insanely useful. They're not the highest quality, but they'll work. They don't work as well with really, really heavy microphones, but for most microphones, most dynamic and condensers are gonna work fine on these. You gotta decide whether or not you're going for short-term getting stands and going versus long-term durability. If I was going for short-term and just getting stands, I would get some of these onstage tripod stands, maybe these Euroboom 3-pack guys, and just get a grip with a couple of those. These are not gonna last long, and if they're getting abused in a studio, they're not gonna last long. If you're looking for a system that's much more robust, I would recommend going with like some Triad Orbit stands, or you could go with an Atlas stand. However, to me, the most flexible, durable system, also the most expensive, is going to be the Triad Orbit ones, but you can hand select exactly how you build out those systems and they can be super useful. If you want to see what I use, I have like my own gear list of all the crap that's in my studio at the very top of the description. Now that was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but that was actually very, very fun. A fun thought experiment, and these lists are actually going to be incredibly useful for me because I do studio consulting with people who are setting up their studios. It's actually like a huge part of my business, and I use these lists and pretty much recommend most of these products for these people. So this is going to be a great reference point for you if you're starting and considering doing any of this. Take my word for it. These are good recommendations. Use these lists, check out these products. These are good products that I absolutely love. And if you want all my reasons why, rewind, you can watch them. If you want to book a consultation with me on my website to actually go through what you're trying to do and match things for the needs of your studio, you can book a consult on andrewmastersmusic.com. Schedule one on there. You can find a time that works for you, and I'll essentially do this same process with you, connect you with the different people that you need to be connected with to actually build out the studio, answer some of your specific questions that solve the needs that you have for what you're trying to do so you can get started on your musical journey. Big thank you to Sweetwater.com for sponsoring this video. So go check out those links, the lists. It's all affiliate links at no extra cost. You can get the things you're looking for and also support what I'm doing here on this channel. Outside of that, these are all just tools that are going to enable you to work on your skills and develop yourself as whatever it is, the songwriter, the producer, the audio engineer that you are trying to do. The gear isn't going to make up for skills. You always need your skills. You need to be practiced at all these things. This can't make up for that. But if you are looking for this, hopefully this gave you some value. That's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.